Right then, you lovely lot of doom dodgers and casual catastrophists, welcome back to Armageddon's Runway, the only show where we polish the apocalypse till it gleams, and then immediately drop it on our foot. If you're new here, pause sod, hit like, subscribe, and share. Yes, the holy trinity of modern validation. Do it now, before civilization collapses and the Wi-Fi password becomes a myth whispered around campfires. Go on, press it. There's a good prepper. It's the health and safety bit, because lawyers ruin everything. Now, before we begin, health and safety notice. Everything you hear tonight is for educational entertainment, which is a fancy way of saying, if you copy me and die, that's on you, sunshine. Don't drink bleach, don't store petrol in your bath. And if you're thinking of testing your generator indoors, stop, open a window. Or better yet, open your brain. Right, admin done. Tonight's episode is brought to you by nobody, because apparently the canned beans industry still hasn't forgiven me for calling their product a fart grenade in a tin. So, instead, this broadcast is unofficially sponsored by PPFM, Proper Prepper FM, the only station that could survive a nuclear strike and still broadcast sarcasm through the fallout. My bit's done. Now over to the big man himself, Dougie McPrep.
You're listening to Armageddon's Runway, survival fashion for the end of the world. Practical, tactical, and just a little bit sarcastic.
Thank you, Davey. And greetings, listeners. Welcome to another Armageddon's Runway. Tonight, we're building a community network. Let's crack on then with the first segment. Neighborhood Nexus, why your block needs a plan. Let's talk community resilience. Sounds dead official, doesn't it? Like something a bloke in a high-vis would mutter at a council meeting before billing you twice. But here's the truth. When everything goes pear-shaped, power cuts, floods, or another national oops, you'll get help faster from Mrs Henderson at number 12 than from any minister in Westminster. See, disaster doesn't start with sirens. It starts with silence. The moment the telly flicks off, the fridge sighs its last, and you realize your phone's down to 4%. That's when you discover whether your street's a community or just a collection of Wi-Fi signals with separate bins. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you need to form the neighborhood tactical response unit. You don't need camouflage. You need connections. If you can name your Amazon delivery driver, but not the old bloke 2 doors down, you're prepping wrong. Let me paint a picture. Global supply chain collapses. Supermarket shelves emptier than a politician's promises. Who's better off? The lad with 40 tins of beans and no mates? Or the woman who knows her street well enough to swap tomatoes for paracetamol, bread for batteries, and gossip for intel? That's what I call the neighborhood nexus, your immediate circle of capability. The science bit, UK version, the truth hurts. Right, here's where we swap sarcasm for science. Well, a sort of science. Don't worry, there won't be a test at the end, just a quiet existential dread. Over in the States, FEMA, the ones who turn up after the hurricane's finished, did a bit of research and found that about 70% of life-saving actions during big disasters are done by regular people. Not uniforms, not the cavalry, just whoever happened to be nearby with a pulse and a clue. And you know what? They're right. Because when it all goes sideways, help gets stuck. In traffic, underwater, or arguing on a Teams call about whose jurisdiction the problem is. Now, here in the UK, our glorious kingdom of kettle queues and underfunded everything, what's the government giving you? Go on, I'll wait. That's right, nothing. No food drops, no bottled water, no reassuring knock on the door, just you, your lot, and maybe a leaflet about staying safe in hot weather. Brilliant. This is where community resilience stops being a buzzword and starts being survival with manners. Because when the power's out, the taps are dry, and the council's blaming supply chain pressures, you'll realize something important. You are the help. Your neighbors are your first responders, whether you like them or you've spent the last 5 years pretending you're not in when they knock about parking on the curb. So resilience isn't about hoarding tins and waiting for a BBC alert. It's about mapping what you've actually got. Forget bunkers. This isn't America. You don't need a fallout shelter. You need a spreadsheet. Or if that's too fancy, a notebook and a pen that isn't shaped like a unicorn. List your street. Seriously, who's got medical training? Who's got tools? Who's got a barbecue that can double as a power source when the grid gives up? Who's got the gossip chain that moves faster than government briefings? That, my friend, is your survival infrastructure. And if you can't list any of it yet, well, that's your first red flag. The casserole commandos. Never underestimate what I call the Mrs Henderson effect. Every street's got one. Lovely woman, cardigan collection that could repel nuclear winter, and a casserole for every crisis. She doesn't own a single solar panel, doesn't know what a Faraday cage is, but she's your secret weapon. She's morale. When spirits dip lower than a labor approval rating, she's the one feeding half the street from a slow cooker that somehow never runs out. Morale, in a long-term emergency, is as vital as batteries. You can stockpile beans, rice, and bog roll till the rafters creak, but if no one trusts each other, or worse, everyone's miserable, you're already losing. Community isn't soft stuff, it's logistics disguised as kindness. People who feel cared for cooperate, people who cooperate survived. It's not politics, it's maths. The pub test for prepping. Now let's bring it back to what I called the pub test. Ask yourself this: could you get half your street into a pub garden on a sunny evening without it turning into a low-level civil war over who nicked a pint glass? If the answer's yes, you're halfway there. If the answer's no, start smaller. Maybe a barbecue, maybe a brew and a biscuit, whatever works. Because that's how community resilience actually starts, not with a clipboard, but with a conversation. The fancy term for it is social capital. I call it having a pint with purpose. You don't have to sing Kumbaya or make a WhatsApp group called Apocalypse Avengers. You just have to talk, laugh, compare notes. That's how you spot who's reliable and who's a liability. Quick practical takeaway, UK edition. Here's your task one for real this time. Get a bit of paper. Draw a map of your street. Just the 10 nearest houses. Next to each, write one line. Their skills, their kit, their character. Got a nurse nearby? Great. A plumber? Even better. An old RAF lad who's got a shed full of suspiciously well-maintained tools? Brilliant. That's your A-team. And the next time you see them, say something other than alright, because that's how it starts. Small talk turns into survival talk. That's it. That's the seed of a hyper-local survival network. Costs nothing. Saves everything.
There we are then. That's your homework before the next power cut. Now grab a brew, check your torches still work, and when we come back, we're turning your neighbourhood cookout into a tactical coordination hub with snacks. Right, kettle's done, power's still on, miracle, so let's get into the meat of it. This part's all about what happens after you've mapped the street and realised that half your neighbours can't boil an egg without Wi-Fi. Because resilience isn't about owning gadgets, it's about people who can actually use them without electrocuting themselves. And it starts, oddly enough, with food.
Okay, let's get on with it then. Next we have the Great British Potluck, aka Tactical Feeding Exercise. There's a reason armies march on their stomachs and British morale runs on carbs. Nothing bonds a group faster than sharing food. Call it a potluck, call it a bring and burn, or, if you're posh, a community luncheon. Doesn't matter. The point is, if people are willing to eat together, they're halfway to surviving together. Here's the clever bit. You can hide actual preparedness training inside it. Get everyone to bring a dish that doesn't need refrigeration or fancy cooking gear. That's lesson 1 in disguise. Shelf-stable food you actually want to eat. Slip in a few low-key skills. Fire lighting, water purification, first aid demos, just casual-like. Make it look social. People hate training, but they'll queue up for fun with filters and sausages. And if anyone moans that you're turning a BBQ into a doomsday seminar, remind them that the gas grid's one cyber attack away from a bad evening, and the lesson's cheaper than therapy. Community upskilling without sounding like a cult. Now, once you've got a handful of people talking, you become the accidental coordinator. Congratulations, you're now what the council would call a community resilience champion. unpaid, overworked, and destined to fill out risk assessment forms till the heat death of the universe. But you don't need a clipboard. You need to swap skills, that's all. Old bloke at number 23 used to be a mechanic. Fantastic. Teach him to clean a water filter and, in return, get your generator serviced. Teacher across the road. Brilliant. She can help set up a kid's corner if the school's shut again. Teenager with a drone. Perfect reconnaissance asset. Just don't tell his mum you called him that. You build competence by trading knowledge. It's like the world's least sexy version of Pokemon cards. Got a spare fire lighting skill? I'll swap you for basic plumbing. It sounds daft, but it's the backbone of local resilience. The more overlap in abilities, the fewer weak spots when things wobble. Barterpalooza, the trade game. Let's talk about barter, because money's only useful when someone's still printing it. The Brits don't like to admit it, but we're natural traders. We've been swapping pints for favours since pubs were invented. Imagine this, the power's out for a week. No ATMs, no card readers, no Deliveroo. Who's richer, the bloke with a wallet full of useless plastic, or the woman with a shed full of candles, Calpol, and chocolate digestives? That's when barter begins. Not Mad Max, not chaos, just quiet swaps. Batteries for bread, paracetamol for petrol, solar charger for a lift to the next town. Start practicing now, when it's safe. Do a swap day. Old tools, extra kit, tinned goods, move them around. You'll learn what people value and who's trustworthy. Trust me, that lesson's worth more than a Bitcoin. The awkward meeting. How to train. Your HOA. Sooner or later, someone will suggest doing this officially. A neighborhood association, residents group, whatever. Fine, do it. But for the love of tea, keep it friendly. The goal is practical, not political. You don't need minutes and motions, you need spare batteries and a plan. If you must have an agenda, keep it simple. Emergency contact list, shared storage options, who's checking on the elderly and the vulnerable. No speeches, no PowerPoint, no one cares about your logo. Run the meeting like a pub quiz. 3 rounds, who's got the gas stove, who owns a chainsaw, and who's definitely lying about both. The laughter keeps it human. People remember jokes better than rules, and you'll get far more volunteers if they're smiling when they leave. The psychology bit. Herd instincts and hysterics. Let's get a bit scientific again, because understanding people's panic response is half the game. During the first 48 hours of any major event, behavior splits 3 ways. 10% act decisively, 80% freeze and follow, 10% lose their marbles. Your job, yes, you again, is to make sure the 80% have someone calm to follow, and the last 10% have somewhere harmless to scream. Organization beats panic every time. You can preempt the hysteria with clear, calm information. Set up a WhatsApp group or a paper notice board, whatever works, without relying entirely on the internet. Assign one person to update it, one to verify news, and one to tell everyone when to shut up and have tea. Information is control, control is calm, calm people don't loot the co-op. Quiet prepping, discretion and decency. A note on secrecy. Yes, you got supplies. Yes, you got skills. No, you don't need to announce it. Being the only one with 20 tins of beans makes you a target, not a hero. Share knowledge, not inventory. Let the community know how to purify water, not how many liters you've got stored. That's operational security, British edition. It's not paranoia, it's manners. Morale mechanics. Humour keeps people functional. If you can get your neighbours laughing in the dark, they'll keep going. Jokes, card games, dodgy music, whatever. Set up tea checkpoints. One person boils water, others bring mugs, and you spend 10 minutes not talking about disaster. Morale refills faster than batteries, and it's renewable. Mini drills that don't scare the neighbors. Do 1-hour what-if sessions. Collect a dry run, pick a time, everyone kills their main breaker and see who's ready. Can you still cook, still communicate, still charge a phone? Treat it like a game, not an inspection. Every time you find a weakness, you fix it quietly. Do it often enough, and you'll turn your cul-de-sac into a self-reliant ecosystem without anyone realizing. When government help actually arrives. Eventually officials will appear. Fluorescent jackets, clipboards, And that panicked look of people who've just realized their emergency plan is on a dead laptop. They'll ask for volunteers, data, tea. Be polite but prepared. Know what your community can offer and what it needs. The faster you brief them, the faster they move on to the next crisis. Don't expect miracles, it's the UK government. Expect delays, yep, again, that's the UK government. And keep the kettle on. Real help sources, UK facts section. Local resilience forums, LRFs. Every council area's got one. Find yours before the storm, not after. Met Office and Environment Agency, flood alerts, heatwave warnings, actual science rather than Facebook hysteria. UK Power Networks / National Grid. They'll text outage updates if you sign up now. NHS 111. Online, pre-register vulnerable neighbours for priority services. None of this costs a penny. It just requires 10 minutes of effort before things break. Pulling it all together. When you mix the potluck idea, the skill swap, the barter system, and the morale breaks, you get something powerful. A community rhythm, a pattern of trust, exchange, and laughter that keeps functioning when everything else stops. That rhythm is worth more than any stockpile, because supplies run out. People don't, unless you let them drift apart. Well, folks, we have come to the end of our little introduction on community reliance. If you haven't yet started, well, there's no time like the present, and we hope this information serves you well. So, till next time on Armageddon's Runway, I'll say Slarng Avar.
That concludes this transmission of Armageddon's Runway. May your socks stay dry, your boots stay strong, and your neighbors stay distracted.
So there you go. From casseroles to coordination, from gossip chains to gas canisters, that's how it starts. No heroics, no headlines. Just people doing what people have always done. Helping each other stay alive long enough to have a moan about it. If you take one thing from tonight, make it this. Prepping isn't paranoia, it's just self-respect with better lighting. You don't have to call yourself a prepper. Half the best ones never do. They just get on with it quietly, with tea, torchlight, and terrible jokes. You've been listening to Armageddon's Runway, Episode 12. Local Community Resilience, Building a Hyper-Local Survival Network. If the lights are still on where you are, hit like, share, and subscribe. Not because I need validation, but because the algorithm does. If they're not on, well, at least now you know which neighbour's got a generator. This has been a Proper Prepper FM production, where hope is rationed, humour's free, and even the end of the world deserves good commentary. I'm Davey, and you've been a great audience. So, till next time, see you all laters.